The Battle of Hlobane, a turning point in the Anglo-Zulu War. High upon the craggy ridges of Hlobane Mountain, the air once trembled with shouts, gunfire, and the clash of spears, a battle that would haunt the British Empire and stand as a symbol of Zulu defiance. On March 28, 1879, the Anglo-Zulu War reached a dramatic and deadly juncture as British forces faced an unexpected and crushing defeat at the hands of the fiercely organized Zulu warriors. This is the story of the Battle of Hlobane, a clash not just of two military forces, but of ideals, colonial ambition versus sovereign resistance. This documentary dives deep into the events leading up to the battle, the chaos of the engagement itself, and the lasting legacy it left behind. The Zulu people under King Cetshwayo Kampande were not fighting for conquest. They were fighting to preserve their homeland, their customs, and their independence. The British, emboldened by their advanced weaponry and driven by imperialistic pursuits, underestimated the Zulus' determination, discipline, and tactical genius. This miscalculation would lead them into one of the most harrowing encounters of the war. Now journey with us back to the slopes of Hlobane, where strategy, terrain, weather, and raw courage collided in a battle for survival. To truly understand the Battle of Hlobane, we must first explore its roots, planted deeply in the soils of colonial expansion and Zulu resistance. In the late 19th century, the British Empire, seeking to consolidate its power in southern Africa, turned its attention to the Zulu Kingdom. The Zulus, a proud and organized society under the leadership of King Cetshwayo, had built a formidable reputation as a military force. For decades, they had perfected military tactics, such as the horns of the buffalo formation, which emphasized strategy and discipline over brute force. On the other side was the British military, bolstered by advanced weaponry, including rifles and artillery. However, colonial forces often overlooked the value of understanding local terrain and the psychology of their opponents. They relied heavily on technology over adaptability, a flaw that contributed to their vulnerability. When the British issued an ultimatum to King Cetshwayo demanding the dissolution of the Zulu military system, it was an impossible request. For the Zulu people, their army represented not just defense, but cultural unity and identity. The refusal ultimately led to the Anglo-Zulu War in January 1879. Thus began one of history's most fascinating conflicts, a war marked by bravery, tragic losses, and unexpected outcomes. Hlobane, though lesser known compared to clashes like Rorke's Drift or Isandlwana, would prove pivotal. March 1879 brought mounting pressure on British forces to suppress the Zulus and demonstrate their dominance. Major Redvers Buller, a renowned British commander, devised a plan to raid cattle from the Zulu forces near Hlobane Mountain. Cattle were vital to Zulu society, representing wealth, sustenance, and even spiritual importance. By stealing their herds, the British hoped to weaken Zulu morale and disrupt their supply chain. Buller believed the operation would deal a psychological blow to the Zulus and give the British the upper hand. Hlobane Mountain, the chosen site for the raid, was a treacherous landmark. Its craggy peaks and sheer cliffs provided natural defenses for the Zulus. Despite warnings from scouts about the presence of a significant Zulu force approaching, the British dismissed the threat, convinced that their firepower would overcome any resistance. This overconfidence would soon prove disastrous as the Zulu warriors prepared to defend their homeland with precision and unity unlike anything the British expected. At dawn on March 28th, the British raid had already begun. Redvers Buller's men climbed the rugged slopes of Hlobane Mountain and captured hundreds of cattle from Zulu kraals. At first, the operation seemed to be going as planned, but then, like distant thunder, word reached the British forces. A massive Zulu impis, estimated at over 20,000 warriors, was advancing rapidly toward the mountain, led by Nchingwayo Kamahol Koza, one of the Zulu Kingdom's finest generals. The Zulu impi made no direct head-on charge. Instead, using their time-honored horns of the buffalo formation, they encircled and outflanked the British troops, cutting off possible escape routes. Panic began to spread among the British ranks as they realized the precariousness of their position. The high cliffs and narrow ridges of the mountain made it nearly impossible for the British to mount a cohesive defense. With torrents of rain pouring from dark skies, the battlefield turned into a muddy quagmire. Visibility plummeted, bullets misfired, and horses struggled to maintain their footing. As the Zulu warriors tightened their formation, the once confident British soldiers found themselves overwhelmed by sheer numbers and strategic brilliance. Desperate and outmatched, they attempted to retreat down the mountain's treacherous slopes. For many, it was a doomed effort. Yet amidst the chaos, acts of extraordinary bravery emerged. Zulu warriors demonstrated masterful discipline, maintaining their attack with relentless determination. On the British side, soldiers like Major William Leete and Lieutenant Robert Brown performed heroic deeds, risking their lives to protect their comrades. Brown, in particular, earned the Victoria Cross for repeatedly braving enemy fire to rescue wounded soldiers from the battlefield. When the battle ended, it was clear. The Zulus had won decisively. The mountain was littered with the dead and wounded, a sobering testament to the horrors of war. The Battle of Hlobane was a harrowing defeat for the British, with heavy casualties and widespread demoralization. Of the roughly 600 British troops and their auxiliaries who took part in the raid, over 100 were killed, many during the chaotic retreat down the mountain. For the Zulus, the victory was not just a military achievement, but a reaffirmation of their strength and unity in the face of imperial aggression. The battle proved that disciplined planning and knowledge of terrain could triumph over technological superiority. However, the victory came at a cost. Many Zulu warriors also fell in the battle, sacrificing their lives to defend their land and secure their people's future. The grief and pride of the Zulu families echoed through the land, a reminder of the price of resistance. But even as the Zulus celebrated their triumph, their victory would provoke a wave of retaliation. Hlobane set the stage for one of the decisive battles of the Anglo-Zulu War, the Battle of Kambula, just one day later. The Battle of Hlobane carried significant implications for both sides. For the Zulus, it was a moment of triumph, shattering the perception of British invincibility. But it also intensified the British resolve to crush the Zulu Kingdom. The humiliation at Hlobane echoed across British military ranks, prompting a more determined and ruthless response. The following day, on March 29th, the British took to the battlefield at Kambula and decisively defeated the Zulu forces. This battle marked a turning point in the Anglo-Zulu War, swinging momentum back in favor of the British. But the defeat at Hlobane remained a stinging lesson for imperial forces, a moment where colonial arrogance met its match in indigenous resistance. The Battle of Hlobane is more than just a story of military tactics. It is a study of courage, misjudgment, and the enduring spirit of a people fighting for their freedom. For history enthusiasts, it offers profound lessons about the relationship between technology and strategy, the dangers of underestimating an opponent, and the human cost of imperial ambition. At its heart, Hlobane is a tale of resilience. The Zulu forces, employing their cultural and military ingenuity, demonstrated that no empire is unassailable. The bravery shown by individuals on both sides underscores the complexity of war, where loyalty, duty, and survival often collide in unexpected ways. To this day, the battle remains a source of pride for the descendants of Zulu warriors, a reminder of their ancestors' defiance against one of the most powerful empires of the 19th century. As the camera pans across the rocky ridges of Hlobane Mountain today, silence reigns where once chaos ruled. On this sacred ground, lives were lost and history was made. Hlobane is not just a tale of defeat for one side and triumph for the other. It is a chapter in humanity's ongoing struggle between conquest and resistance. The Battle of Hlobane stands as a testimony to the bravery and brilliance of the Zulus, the overconfidence and errors of the British, and the devastating toll war exacts on all who partake. In remembering this battle, we honor the warriors from both sides who fought with conviction, courage, and an unshakable belief in their cause. By looking back, we remind ourselves of the cost of conflict and the universal human desire for autonomy and dignity, lessons that resonate far beyond the slopes of Hlobane Mountain. For more exciting and educative ancient war stories, kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share. Join us again when we bring you more interesting stories.